Check. Okay. We have a few people still trickling in, so we're going to get started here in about 5 minutes. Thank you. Temporary operation plan, public hearing that the DART board will hold, brief information regarding fare restructuring, and then how the city will be connected with us regarding the project. I want to remind everybody that there's audio and video recording in progress. This is a public meeting, so we will open it up to answer questions and concerns, but we just ask for everyone to be respectful with each other and staff. So we're going to open it up for questions. If you have a question or comment or concern, just raise your hand. We'll walk someone over with a microphone to where you can ask it. If you have a question but you don't want to speak publicly, we can also give you a comment card where you can jot down your question, and then we'll address that question at the end of the presentation. I want to remind everyone, like I said, we're going to be doing everything in sections, so when we do the project overview, we'll stop. You can ask questions regarding that section. We'll cover construction. You can ask questions at the end of that section, and then we'll cover communication efforts along with the operation plan. Thank you. I'm Mario Zavala, I'm the Project Communications Manager, lead communications efforts for the Silverline project and all development projects. The Silverline team is here to, again, provide information and answer questions. We have our VP of Capital Design and Construction, Trey Walker, who's going to be driving a lot of the overview for you. And then we also have our Executive VP and Chief Development Officer, Dean Leggett. Driving construction will be Matt Henson, he's the project manager. He works for AWH, who's our design build contractor. And then we also have Sawyer Ferry, who's our community engagement rep for DART. She's here if you have any questions regarding DART services, DART initiatives within the community. She can answer those questions for you as well. So as I said, this is our second round of biannuals. We came out in January, met with all the different communities, provided the same type of information back then. We started our second round of biannuals last week in Richardson. As you can see down the list, we've gone to each community, and then we're wrapping up today here in Dallas. All right, let me call up Trey to go over the overview.
All right, good evening, everybody. My name is Trey Walker, Vice President for Design and Construction with DART. Just provide an overview on the project. The DART Silverline is a 26-mile long corridor that spans from DFW Airport all the way to East and Shiloh Road in Plano. We're building 10 stations as part of the Silverline project. And really the big advantage of the project is that we're providing those connections, both east-west within the DART service area, but connections to and from communities that are already served by DART, other DART services. So at the airport, we're providing connections to the Orange Line at Terminal A. At DFW North Station, we connect with Trinity Metro and their Tex Rail service. As we move east, we're connecting with the DART Green Line in downtown Carrollton. Addison Station has one of DART's busiest bus transfer facilities with routes going across the city and within north-south and into and out of downtown Dallas. And then as we move eastward into Richardson and Plano, we make those connections with the DART red and orange lines at City Line Bush Station and at 12th Street Station in Plano as well. In total, like I said, the project spans 7 cities, 7 municipalities, and DFW Airport proper. Right now, we are about 75% through construction on the corridor as a whole. Stations with specific interest to Dallas and that are located within the city of Dallas include the Knoll Trail Station, just to our west from this location, near DNT. This is a walk-up station. We'll show some progress photos of shortly. It's about the middle point of the corridor, so you're looking at about a 35-minute ride to DFW Airport and about a 25-minute ride east to Plano. And then as we go further west, near Capel, but in the city of Dallas still, we have a station at Cypress Waters that will be relatively proximate to the broader Cypress Waters development. That is a park and ride facility. Being on the western portion of the corridor, that is a convenient, or that's a short 15-minute ride to DFW Airport, and about a 45-minute ride to Shiloh Station in Plano. We, along with the Silverline Regional Rail Project, we are also in partnership with the North Central Texas Council of Governments for the construction of the Cotton Belt Regional Trail. This is an envisioned project in the Regional Transportation Plan for about 50-plus mile regional trail spanning from Fort Worth all the way to Plano. Being that a large portion of this trail is on property owned by DART, that will be the Silverline Corridor. We are the delivery partner for the North Central Texas Council of Governments for the segments that overlap the Silverline construction. Specifically to the areas that'll be constructed sooner rather than later, we are building out the first 2 phases of a 3-phase approach for the trail. The first 2 phases largely encompass Addison to the east. Phase 1 is going in now. These are largely bridges that are integral to our railroad bridges and provide crossings where it would just be nearly impossible to get in and build those overpasses once revenue service is operating. So this is the D&T Ped Bridge, the Hillcrest Ped Bridge that's going in with that as well. There's about 7 of them total. And then our phase 2 is going to be largely the trail that connects that corridor from Addison all the way to Plano. That project for phase 2 is going to be going into bid here the next few months, with construction start anticipated around the beginning of 2025. In total, we're looking at we're looking to open that portion of the trail after revenue service of the Silverline. The Silverline vehicles that will be running on the corridor, these are different vehicles than what DART operates on the light rail system. These are self-propelled diesel multiple unit vehicles that are manufactured by Stadler in Salt Lake City. We have purchased 8 of these for service of the Silverline. They are the same vehicle that was operated on the Tex Rail portion of the former Cotton Belt corridor, and they seat about 230 people and include amenities, a little more comfortable seating, a little bit more spread out because it is looking for more of a regional rail approach that has longer rides kind of built in as you traverse longer distances with overhead storage and bike racks as well as security, closed circuit television, and connection with DART police for the as well. So as I said earlier, we are about 75% complete with construction of the corridor as a whole within the guideway. We are delivering this in 3 distinct segments to overlap our testing portion of the project with the construction still taking place on other portions of the corridor. So this is delivered with segment C being first. We actually operated a train on the corridor for the first time last Sunday in the Plano and Richardson segment of this from UTV station all the way to the end of the line at Shiloh Road. Right now we are doing some preparation of the rail across that portion of the corridor, and we'll resume testing later this month. Segment A is the second portion of testing, and that will expand from DFW Airport all the way just east of Dallas North Tollway, and encompassing that Knoll Trail station that I referenced earlier. That testing on that portion of the corridor will pick up in the 4th quarter of this year, towards the end of the year. And then segment B is the segment that's largely connected between the large construction sites at Coit Road and Hillcrest Road. And that work will be complete and Guideway will be tied up for testing in the end of the 1st quarter of 2025. This all leads to end-to-end testing along the Silverline corridor in June, the 2nd quarter of 2025. And we are anticipating a revenue service date towards the end of 2025 and early of 2026. So during testing, we will be simulating service. When we do the segment B corridor testing from the UT Dallas station to Knoll Trail station, we will be making stops along the way to turn on and activate these crossings. We will have flaggers to control vehicle crossings to validate that the crossing arms are functioning appropriately. Once it's determined that they are and the warning times are sufficient, we will revert to letting the warning systems on the crossings be the sole warning service. It looks similar to our revenue service as we go through that. During that process, there is no quiet zone observance, so we'll be blowing horns. Currently, we anticipate most of the testing activities to take place during the day, and it'll be, like I said, that's targeted in that Q1 of 2025 period, and Q2 of 2025. So we'll stop there and take questions on the corridor as a whole.
Feel free to raise your hand. I'll bring you the mic.
Over here. What does that mean that the quiet zones are going to be tested mainly during the day? Or is it the orange?
The crossings, right now, we are anticipating our crossing test to be taking place during normal working hours, essentially, so not at nighttime.
Will you guarantee it's during the day and not at night?
I'm not going to guarantee it right now. We haven't fully developed our segment B testing plan. We want to make sure there aren't any other interferences in the area before we make any guarantees, but that's the anticipation.
Coming behind you.
Yes, this is I guess a construction question. On the overpass on Coit, the north side slope is much steeper going down than the south side slope going up. Is there a reason? I'm sure there's a reason for it.
Yeah, so the primary reason on that is we have to get back down to Osage, and we're crossing Osage at grade. The other reason that the south side is less steep is we were making sure we had a 3 crosswalk system there. The city requested a 4 crosswalk system at Sugarcane, and in doing that, we actually had to lessen the grade coming down, raise that intersection up so we could get the cross slope right for ADA compliance. So it's all about the ADA compliance on the south side. If it wasn't for that, both sides would have been the same.
One other quick question. You have 2 stations, Addison Station and Knoll Trail Station, fairly close together. Is that because of parking?
It's the configuration that was selected sort of in the environmental process for it. They are relatively close. Addison Station does have a large surface parking lot for that park and ride capacity, whereas the Knoll Trail Station, in discussions with the city of Dallas during the design phase, it is more of a walk-up station. So if you were going to catch the train there, there's going to be a pickup drop-off lane for that. There will be some handicap parking, but not any dedicated long-term parking application.
Yeah, the second previous slide had a Silver Line vehicle in front of downtown Dallas. That will never happen, correct?
That, yeah, so go forward to that. So that's pretty a unique occasion. That's why I took the picture. So yeah, so we stored, the Silver Line vehicles were shipped to Texas. We stored them at the TRE yard in Irving.
But the Silver Line...
Correct, yeah. So that's not part of the alignment at all. And so we took it through downtown to tow it up to Plano before we get the vehicle station for testing.
I have a construction question. They have been washing down the precast concrete walls in our area between Campbell and Davenport. And they've done a pretty good job of spraying them up at the top of the walls and sort of watering our patios while they're at it and our pets. And I don't know what they're using to wash them down, but if they could be a little more careful, that would be really appreciated.
I'll talk to the crews.
Anyone else? I see someone in the striped shirt in front.
What I heard was that the testing for B is going to take place sometime in the beginning of 2025, and the news letter mentioned that construction was still on track for at least 1 lane of Hillcrest in each direction to be open in January of 2025. Is that still true?
Yes, that's still true.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Just a quick question on the toll on the charges. Especially, I'm interested in the day pass that are available on DART. Will that be something similar to that, or will this be a totally different ticketing process?
Yes, sir. We'll talk a little bit about some fare restructuring later in the presentation, but regarding service on the Silver Line, we currently anticipate our current fare structure of a $3 one-way pass and a $6 day pass to be applicable to Silver Line service. And connecting services to the Silver Line, should you buy the day pass.
Any last questions? I'll be over there to you in a minute now.
Is there any update? Is there any update on the pumping station on Hillcrest?
Yeah, I'll get into it here in a little bit, but the pump station still is under construction. The pumps are in the ground. We're currently connecting all the piping that's out on the roadway, and that will be operational before we get that road open. Before we open the road, that pump station will be operational.
One last question, and then we'll move on to the next section.
You talked about the quiet zone. How loud are the trains going to be when they go past our neighborhoods?
I'm going to ask John Hoppy to answer that question.
The noise is actually a function of the speed, the distance you are from the train. They're very equivalent to the light rail trains as far as the noise they produce. We have some measurements, but it's like most people it won't be more than like 50 to 60 decibels in that area.
Will we feel a vibration?
No, we've done a noise and vibration analysis as part of our environmental impact statement. We've eliminated all what the FDA considers a noise impact, and we have eliminated all the vibration impacts as well. We have, in cases where we had some excessive vibration, we put down mitigation, which is a rubber mat or a rubber coating below the tracks to eliminate the vibration.
Thank you. You can go ahead now.
All right, getting into some of the project milestones. So a lot of the roadways are already done. We still have to get the track across Davenport east-west. So that's over on the west side, and then also Mill Trail. We did get D&T done this last weekend. So those frontage roads were closed over the weekend, and that track is now across the D&T and the frontage roads. So did a lot of work there. We did do the traffic switch onto Coit, which I'm sure you all have driven. That was done back in June. Hillcrest, if you've driven over there, you can see those steel beams are up, so that bridge is well on its way to completion. And the roadway is also almost at completion of getting dug out. We still have a lot of the drainage to do. Those walls get some concrete put on them, but that process is going along very well. And I do anticipate, and I know that we will hit that date of January 24th, 2025, having one lane open each way, just like we've discussed in the past. Pressure Green Park and the Dallas North Tollway Bridge and the pedestrian bridge over at White Rock, those are all on their way to completion as well. We are going through some punch list walks with the city to make sure that those are all up to par of what the city's expecting those to be, and we're looking at getting those turned over first quarter next year. And then the betterment walls and noise walls, those are the walls outside of all of your homes. We've got 5 left to do that aren't started yet. 2 of those are over by Hillcrest, where we just haven't started. We have a lot of our lay down there, so between Hillcrest and McCollum. And then we've got a couple over by the school at Preston and just some other areas where we're working through some sequencing and making sure those walls get in before we get the track. Go through a couple of the pictures. So like Trey said, we've got Cypress Water Station. So this is over far west side of Dallas, close to Capel. Working on the station and the parking lot, so that's the bus loop that goes through, and then the parking lot's just going to be to the left-hand side of that. This is what those stations look like. Very similar if you've seen the one at Knoll Trail. They all look very similar, but the art finishes will be a little bit different on each one. D&T, this is an older picture. I have rail across that bridge now, so that's what it looked like about a week and a half ago, so we're making good progress there. The pedestrian bridge is actually the one that's on the far left. The 2 that are right next to each other, those are the rail bridge. This is Knoll Trail Station. So like Trey was talking about, the few spots for parking, they're actually going to be on that top level of the parking garage. And that's actually going through a design review right now with the city of Dallas. This is what Knoll Trail looks like. So when I was talking about those finishes, those pavers and the circles down where you'd be walking, that's part of the art and design program, and each one of those stations have a different art and design program. This is White Rock Creek. This is that one bridge I was talking about. This is right by the golf course there, just west of Preston, so between Knoll Trail and Preston. So a very long bridge to get over that creek, and then our rail bridge on this one is to the left-hand side. And then Preston Green Park, just west of Hillcrest. So this gets the connection through the park and will connect along the north side of the right-of-way here. This is Davenport East, so we're going back just one intersection. So the road is or the rail is across the road here. So this is what you see at a lot of the crossings. We've got the rail across the crossing, and then over the next few months, you'll see our crews out there, and we'll be connecting each one of those crossings together. This is Hillcrest, so you can see our steel bridges are up. The pump station is back over here. So with the concrete, there's a lid on it and some steel plates over it, but that's the pump station. It goes about 40 feet deep, so our crews are in there getting all the pumping and mechanical piping to work. And then it drains down to the creek. The road is, like I said earlier, is pretty well dug out. So making great progress on this crossing. And then the hiking bike trail here, we don't have it up yet, but the hiking bike comes across here, and then the bridge will be right there on that side. So that'll come here in the next few months as well. We'll get that bridge put in and connect the dots between Preston Green Park and Hillcrest. This is McCollum, so north is to the left. This is meandering, very similar type picture, rails across the road, and we'll be connecting the dots between the intersections. This is Coit Road, so we're pretty well dug out on the bottom side of this picture. We'll still need to dig out through the other side, but that's what that final bridge is going to look like. We are going to build another bridge right next to it, so all the lanes will be done. We have traffic up there 2 lanes each way right now, and then when we're done, it'll be 3 lanes each way as we finish up. And then as we keep going off the page to the north, or to the top of the page, that gets into Richardson and Waterview crossing, just for reference.
A quick question on that picture of Court Road. So where's like the trail going to be in situations like that?
It's going to go right under the bridge here, and it'll be like up on a shelf almost.
When you have the walls, is the trail going to be outside the walls?
In this location, yeah, the trail will be on the outside, so kind of in this green area. Thank you. It'll be between the Highland Springs fence and that wall. So it'll be on the outside of the track, outside of the bridge.
That's what I figured. I just was like checking out this area over here, 2 walls.
Yeah, these walls are 12 feet from the center line of track. Not a whole lot more is going to fit in there. So the hiking bike goes on the outside of the big wall and in between the fence.
Thank you.
East side or west side?
It's on the east side. So where the northbound lanes were, that's where the new bridge is going to be. So this is effectively the southbound bridge, and we're building the northbound bridge.
I have a quick question. Is there anything you can do even temporarily to increase the flow of traffic across that bridge?
Yeah, so with the city of Dallas right now is the temporary lighting plan, or the timing for the lights. As soon as they approve that, they can go turn it on. So it's, from AWH's perspective, we're ready for it to turn green. We were ready for it to turn green on January 27th. The city had some issues, so we've been working through those and answering their questions to make sure that they were okay turning it on, and it should be turned on as soon as they are ready.
And then also some better marking for the north entrance, be it that it's either closed to University Park.
In the sugar cane?
Yeah.
I'll talk to my guy. I know we've got like a stop sign and a little street entry. I'll see if we can get a bigger sign that says, hey, turn here. Dane?
Hold on, Dave. Hold on, Dave.
to the Davenport North-South picture, that one. Is there supposed to be a pedestrian bridge there somewhere?
It goes over here.
Yeah.
That's in phase 2. So it's not part of the current contract.
There was one more hand on this side. Steve.
Regarding the Hillcrest construction, today's August 1st. Do you have any milestones, inchstones, pick your word, that were due on or before the 1st of August and haven't been met?
No. I've met all my schedule at Hillcrest, just like I said last month. Just like I'm saying today, we are on schedule to have one lane open each way on Hillcrest on January 24th, 2025.
Hey, so I see Dev Rostogie's here. You want to wave? Dev is the new assistant city manager that's over transportation and public works and maybe some other things, but those are the 2 key ones. And so I'm really glad you're here. Thank you for that. And she's an engineer. This is good. My understanding is that there's paperwork missing for you to get that light turned on at Sugar Cane and Coit. Can you verify that?
Are you asking me?
Yes.
I know that we, as was mentioned, we were looking at that traffic light, and it's my understanding that we submitted everything.
So I can't hear everything you're saying, but the answer is you don't have everything you need to turn that light on. Is that correct? I checked with Gus 2 days ago, and AWH had not submitted all of the necessary documentation to be able to turn that light to a green, yellow, red. And we need that to happen, and it should have happened before they were allowed to change the direction. And as far as I'm concerned, there has to be a penalty to the 55,000 drivers per day on Coit Road. And so I'm looking for there to be a deadline for everything the city of Dallas needs to be submitted, and if not, pull that work permit or charge them every day, because school's about to start, and everybody's coming back in town, and this is going to be extremely problematic. It should never have been allowed to happen. So I need to know, like, before I leave, if we have all that documentation and what the deadline is and what the consequences are.
Well, Gus is here, so I think he can share where we are with respect to that paperwork.
You have all the paperwork, Gus? I didn't see you over there.
Hello, Gus McCarty, Director of the Department of Transportation. So we responded back to AWH, so we are awaiting the signed and sealed plans that matches the conditions in the field.
But what's their deadline to get that to you?
We sent it to them, I think, yesterday morning. It's whenever they get it to us.
Matt, when are you going to get it to them?
As soon as it gets signed and sealed, you'll have it. So
Are you going to
Jacobs,
commit to a time frame?
as soon as it gets signed and sealed, you'll have it. So,
Okay, well, I'll
we
just
submitted
ask the
them.
news to join me outside, because this is 3 weeks now. 3 weeks.
So we submitted the last round of comments a week ago. We've been asking the city numerous times a week, and I received my drawings back exactly the way I sent them to them 2 days ago. And that's what we're now signing and sealing. So it was with the city of Dallas for over a week with no movement. As soon as it gets turned around to me, we get it turned around as quickly as we can. We were ready to switch that traffic on June 27th with the lights working on June 27th. I was personally out there and I watched that light turn green. I watched traffic go through it. It was working perfectly well. It worked fine. It was safe. Nobody had any issues. It was part of the plan. It was part of our permit to do so. After we got it switched is when the city of Dallas said we want something else, and they, city of Dallas, turned it to flashing red. AWH was ready to have it turned on June 27th with green, yellow, red as intended.
You forgot the arrow.
So, Matt, let me clarify. Okay? Your plans did not, we're not going to tolerate any impact to safety.
Neither will DART. We are working with the City of Dallas to resolve this issue. As indicated,
We just received the final comments from the City of Dallas. We will talk with our contractor to see how quickly we can get the drawings signed and sealed and back to the city, and we'll communicate with Assistant City Manager Rastogi that response.
Yeah, I'd like to go back to Coy, going north on Coy and turning into sugarcane. There's a very abrupt, and again, as the gentleman mentioned earlier, rather discreet entrance into sugarcane going east. However, you could almost continue the right-hand lane of Coy and go directly in. Is that possible, or?
I'll look at that. I mean, yes, it's probably possible. Yeah. The risk you run into is people that are just following the taillights behind them. And then if you do that, now you have 55,000 people going through your neighborhood.
Okay.
So we want to separate that a little bit to make sure that people make a conscious decision to go into the neighborhood, not just following the car in front of you.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
I'm coming back to you too.
Thanks. A couple more follow-up points on Coy. So obviously, we think safety is the biggest concern, and the main points have been addressed, but can't emphasize enough how much of a concern it is to us that this far into a project, something that basic would be an issue that takes a month to resolve. In our opinion, this is absolutely a continuation pattern of disregarding the public safety for your convenience. And so I'm sorry to just belabor the point, but it's outrageous that you don't care about the commuting public more when supposedly you're transportation, right? But a couple more details on that. Easier access to turn in would be great. In addition to the light not working, there's supposed to be left turn access into the neighborhood, and I understand other parties may have safety concerns, but that is a question because the traffic management plan said that that would only be restricted for 3 days, and it's been a month, that no left turns are possible into the neighborhood. There are no detour signs or instructions coming from those southbound lanes that would want to make a left turn. Eventually, some people figure it out, but what does that mean for overall access when you're not following the traffic management plan that was approved, that is what the neighborhood expected, and basic issues like signage are still lacking?
So last month I presented the new traffic control plan, and that's what was approved. That is what's set up. We can relook at it and see if the city will allow a left-hand turn there.
You only have 3 days of no turns.
Not in the new traffic control plan.
But that's the point, Matt. You set the plan and then you change it, and that's why people are upset.
I'll talk to the city. If the city will allow it, I'll put up a left turn area, or a left turn sign. And you guys can turn off of Coy, but that'll be up to the city if they're gonna allow it or not.
I've got the mic. I don't know about the light that everybody has an argument with and the paperwork and all that stuff. But I do know on Coit, the other red lights that were put up, the one on the north side of Target, and there was others along the way before dark came along, they stayed red blinking for about 30 days. And it was my understanding that that was a city requirement to make sure people understood that was going to be a red light. But anyway.
Yeah, that was for a new signal going in. That's a standard practice.
Okay, this is a different topic, but it is a safety concern that I've talked to the city of Dallas about and been rebuffed. Basically, I live in west of Hillcrest on Westerway Place. The only way out of our neighborhood is on McCallum. There has been, throughout this year, there's been a barricade there on the only entrance and exit to our neighborhood. And there's only room for one car There's only one lane to go in and out, so it's very dangerous. Because people that, there's a blinking red light there. People that turn into the neighborhood don't always stop when they come in. They just kind of glide in. And so, and if there's some trucks parked around that area, you might not be able to see them. I'm afraid that, there are going to be some accidents there. There's several no-through traffic signs before you get there, so I think people have gotten the message by now. I'm just wondering if we could move that sign to the side so that we would have 2 lanes of traffic so that people wouldn't run into each other.
You said Westerway Place?
Well, it's McCallum and Hillcrest. McCamey,
Okay.
Sorry, McCamey and Hillcrest.
I was trying to envision where you're at. I'm like,
Yeah,
not
I'm
a single
sorry.
building.
McCamey, that flashing red light there,
Yes.
McCamey and Hillcrest, there is a barricade that blocks that in one lane.
On the west side?
On the west side, yes.
Okay.
And there's only one lane, and so it's very dangerous there.
And I haven't talked about it yet on Hillcrest, but we do have Westerway going out of Westerway, south. It opened a couple hours ago. So if you live in that neighborhood and instead of going down to McCamey, if you're on that northern side, I do have Westerway to Hillcrest back open to be able to go south.
Is that a one lane?
Well, it's one lane out to go southbound. You're not coming in that way. You can get out that way.
Okay. Well.
But I will look at that other barricade and we'll get it moved.
Okay, thanks.
You have the same issue, and it happens every hour. Someone's flying into our neighborhood, and that one lane that's open, and there's always parked cars because they're working on houses there. Plus, I want to point out, my wife asked me to mention the trucks, and this is no through traffic. Every week, at least one huge semi pulls in to that street, tries to take a left on Spanky Branch, the second Spanky Branch, which is about a 40-degree angle for a 80-foot long truck. Almost ran over my wife the other day. They don't even look when they reverse. These guys are not supposed to be turning in that neighborhood. Is that correct?
I agree. And
what happens, if anyone else is here from the area, it happens every day.
Yeah.
There's a big truck, always, doing a U-turn in our neighborhood. And it's unsafe as hell.
Yeah, and they come through there on Hillcrest too, without really heeding people.
Or slowing.
Slowing down, yeah. Dangerous.
I've got 3 on this side.
I know, back to everyone's favorite topic, but Coit Road here down at Sugarcane. So I have a couple of requests. I think one thing that would be helpful, if you could put a sign up as you're coming south of Coit, because I have seen numerous cars just fly through that flashing red light. So, I mean, the fact that someone hasn't been killed yet really kind of surprises me, because people are going really fast, and you come over that hill, can't see the light. And if you don't know it's there, and you're not familiar with the area, it's causing problems. The other thing is, can we please put up some no U-turn signs? Because as obvious as that might sound, I got stuck coming out of my neighborhood because someone was trying to do a U-turn the other day for 15 minutes. I was late to court for a client. So I'm already adding another 15 minutes every time I have to head out to court to go meet a client, and now I'm having to add 45 minutes just to make sure I can get out of my neighborhood so I can go do my job.
Where were they trying to U-turn?
Where do you think? Right off of Coit and Sugarcane, where they're trying to, right where the blinking lights are. It's been a problem. It was a problem when the lanes going north were, and it's a problem now when the lanes are going south on the other side, or east and west. It's been a consistent problem. So it's just, this is a safety issue. Keep going back to safety. I mean, I know we're all having to sacrifice time and everything else in this neighborhood right now, but it is, I mean, traffic's impossible to get in and out of that neighborhood right now. And to Kara's point, school's starting, and it's just gonna get worse.
School starts Wednesday for all saints.
makes the presentation.
Okay, I'm not sure who to direct this to, so maybe you can tell me whether it's DART or AWH. I've noticed that on the trestle that's crossing, on the bridge that's crossing Hillcrest, the taggers have already found it, and it's been tagged already, and I'm wondering who's responsible for cleanup on that.
We'll get it sprayed off.
I want to share, I'm seeing these large trucks going back and forth, up and down Hillcrest, all the way down BJ, going down Preston Road, going down Campbell to 75. And we just put in new roads like on Campbell Road and all. And these trucks are oversized. Now the driver is trying to be cautious and caring. And his trailer wanders into the lane, especially when you're going down Hillcrest. And the question I asked the other day, and Kara asked me to bring this to the meeting here, is who's going to pay for the destruction of all of our roads and construction of our train? And I understand that has been relieved from DART, which I'm not sure who's responsible. But the city is going to have to replace a lot of these roads because you can see these trucks are carrying heavy equipment, they're carrying steel, which is the rails, they're carrying oversized stuff, and Mandarin Way is another one they're putting down. And the drivers are changing lanes, so as you're driving in a car, you're not sure what lane they're in. Like I said, the front of the truck is in the right lane, but the trailer is wandering back and forth because as you go up and down Hillcrest and Mandarin Way, those lanes aren't really wide, right? So to me, there's a danger there today. Luckily, I don't think we've had any accidents yet. But then the next part is, who's going to pay for the roads that are all being crushed, for lack of a better word, due to the weight that's going across them? Because they weren't designed to handle road construction for railroads.
So all of our trucks are legal loads, just like any of your Amazon trucks or UPS trucks or Whole Foods or whoever has a truck out there. Every single one of our trucks are legal loads. So legal loads are designed for each one of those concrete roadways. So I mentioned at the last meeting that if we can be, yes, Matt, your truck, we saw it break that piece because I'm not the only truck that's out there in the city of Dallas. So job on Frankfurt, there's a job on Campbell that are not the rail. They too have trucks. Highland Springs, they have trucks going all the time building those brand new facility at Highland Springs. Those trucks are driving on the same roads I am, right? So those roads are designed for legal loads, and that goes into the city maintenance program if those roads start failing.
Are there any more questions? All right. Oh, I'm coming to you.
Did you say you're going to help fund fixing the roads?
I did not.
So I'm sorry if this has been brought up at another meeting and I can't recall, but with the inclement weather season coming upon us, and they're already predicting a worse hurricane season, which I'm assuming we'll probably get some of that rain depending on where storms land in the Gulf. What's the contingency plan here to help fix potholes and things like that on these temporary roads that seem to get destroyed much faster? Because I know we've complained and it's taken quite a while to get them fixed.
So on the temp roads, the asphalt, the connections, and if those get damaged and those start hobbling, like I've got one in Plano right now, it's brought to our attention, we're going to fix it. So as soon as we know about it, we can get with the city to get a lane closure. We will get those potholes fixed as soon as they become apparent. Moving on to some other construction pictures, not the aerials. So this is not necessarily specific to the city of Dallas because we haven't built rail in the city of Dallas like this yet, but this is the rail going over US 75 and doing a bus lane pour at UTD. Just showing the process and what it takes to get some of the work done. Some other project milestones not specific to the city of Dallas. 2 trains have been delivered to Shiloh out there in Plano. Like Trey said, or Mario, I can't remember who it was, but those trains did run last Sunday from UTD to Shiloh. The 2 stations were about 70 and 75% complete on both stations. Rail crossings That's a little bit old now. I've got 7 left across the corridor, so we did get D&T done and a couple others. Guideway bridges, so the remaining bridges are over on the far west side, being able to get moved around the freight traffic that's over there on the west end of the project. Noise and betterment walls, this is across the entire corridor, so we're about 80% complete on all of those. In Dallas, we talked about that earlier, we got 5 left. And then we've got over 140,000 track feet down, so over 26 miles, 2 tracks, that's a lot of track work to put down. But our guys are doing a great job and being able to get that down fairly quickly. I know we've had a lot of questions, and now we're actually at the question part. Any other questions? Sarah?
So I'm not aware of results being shared yet on all of the sugarcane testing. So are they available? What is the result? And why would all pavement from those lanes be torn out before results were available?
So I've seen the results. The city had some questions. They wanted me to change a picture, and they wanted me to put a cross-section in. The results did come back favorable. The geotech came back favorable. The structural integrity of those boxes came back favorable. And the structural integrity of the head wall is already in the design, so that came back favorable. So we're just making the last few comments and corrections to the document, and then that will go back to the city of Dallas. But the report I've seen and reviewed, everything came back favorable, and those boxes are in sufficient condition to put the additional fill on.
And so you said the head wall is already in the design, so is there reinforcement?
Yes, we're adding reinforcement to the walls per the original design, yes. No other questions?
No, I have one.
Oh, sorry, Miss you.
Here, when fully operational, what is the time interval between the train passing a single point? How often does a train pass when fully operational? One way or the other?
That's actually our next section of the presentation. But in general, it's the next slide that we've got up here. So we are working on our operating plan, but we're looking at, in general, in one direction, it's about 60-minute headways with a peak hour headway. So for probably 2.5 hours in the morning and in the afternoon, 30-minute frequency in that direction. 60. So 1 hour headway heading in one direction, one in the other. It comes out to about 60 total movements a day. 60 across the entire corridor would be about 25 minutes, if I'm not correct. At any time. So like each intersection will be about 25 minutes apart, evenly spaced throughout the movement. Total. So that's encompassing total. 60 minutes in each direction. When you overlay that across the day in both directions, it's about 25 minutes. So basically, every 25 minutes, the signal will come down to protect the crossing. Yes, sir. I want to turn it over to Mario to walk through the next portion of the presentation, but that was a great question.
All right, so as we kind of got into this already, Trey mentioned it, it's a 60 train schedule. We are looking at trains every 30 minutes during peak hours. Those are typically, we're looking at in the morning from 6 to 9 a.m. and in the afternoon from 4 to 7, kind of varying rush hour. And then as he said as well, 60 minutes during other weekday service times. The weekend schedule is not set yet. This is all weekday. We're still studying that. We anticipate higher ridership on those. So we're going to study that a little bit more before we present an actual plan to the board. And the one positive too as well is that we'll be able to adjust the train schedule for special event service. So if you've ever taken the light rail into downtown Dallas for the American Airlines, and let's say for a Mavericks game, Stars game, or a concert, you typically have a train waiting for you immediately after the event's over for up to 10 minutes. We'll be able to operate the same way for special events for each city, and then we'll just coordinate that with the cities. Again, this is a preliminary plan. All of this is just what we've studied based on operating and the feedback we've gotten from the community, and then this will go to the DART board. Sometime in 2025, we will have several more information sessions and then a public hearing that will make sure that every community is aware of, so you can go and wish your comments or concerns to the board at that time. Had a question before we start earlier regarding fares, and we kind of talked about that a little bit. DART is in the midst of a fare restructuring program. We've tried to cover this topic through each of our member cities, and we will be coming up in Dallas on August 24th from 9:30 to 10:30 there. This will kind of precede, all these different meetings precede the public hearing, where very much like the Silver Line operating plan, we'll get the feedback from all the communities, and you're able to go and speak to the board before they make a final decision on the fare restriction. But as it's structured, the Silver Line will follow whatever the fare plan that is adopted. I'll get the questions at the end. So we've had lots of questions come up regarding construction updates and traffic and what's going on with the project overall. Obviously, besides coming out twice a year to all the different communities, you can always reach out to us individually. Highly recommend emailing us, silverline@dart.org. We're happy to come out, do presentations to your individual HOA, to your apartment group, community group, chambers, Kiwanis, Rotary, you name it. We're happy to come out and talk about the project and go over all the updates with you. Here for District 12, we do have community meetings. We have 2 more scheduled for the rest of the year. They are held here at the AgriLife Center. They are scheduled for September 19th and November 14th. If you're in the zone, we showed out a postcard at the beginning of the year and one recently to kind of update you on that. And we'll have information on those meetings on our website and through our Silver Line alerts as well. And again, lots of questions that have come up regarding construction, traffic, trucks going through neighborhoods, that sort of thing. The best way we can address that is if you reach out to us and let us know, not just waiting for a meeting. So you can reach out to us directly, silverline@dart.org. I do recommend, if you haven't been to the website regularly, we have all our latest information there. If you go to the website as well, you can sign up for the Silver Line alerts that I mentioned earlier. That's a text alert or an email alert that you will receive anytime we do a major closure, a major traffic impact, or for major meetings as well. The DART hotline, that's for construction issues. So several of you that had questions regarding entrances and exits from your neighborhood, that's something that you can call us up at the 972 number. You'll typically get someone. If you don't, you can leave a message, and we'll try to respond within 24 hours and get your feedback, and then try to get that information and get you a response as well. Again, we want to know what's going on just as much as you want to tell us, so the best way to do that is to communicate with us via email or the phone. Okay. Questions or comments on this?
I have a question concerning fare collection or lack of same. Are there plans to put in a computerized or a rigid fare collection system instead of quote unquote, I guess, the honor system that we now have?
No, sir. Our system is going to remain what we call an open system for accessing. However, we do have fare enforcement officers within our agency that routinely ride the system to verify fare on individuals' commutes.
My question is regarding fares and the restructuring of fares, and with the restructuring of fares, at what point in the future, after ridership begins, do you expect to even break even or become profitable?
So this service, the fare restructure that we've got shown on the screen here is not considered for our regional. It's not considered for a regional network. It's largely for existing services. Public transit in general does not break even at the fare box, right? This is a subsidized service that's provided nationwide. There's no U.S.-based service that breaks even on the fare box. So it's a portion of our funding revenue that is then distributed with our other sources of revenue to balance our operational and capital expenses.
So speaking of fare restructuring, I know you mentioned it's just a small portion of it. Is there any still plans for sort of like, and I know we continue to increase fares, but is there ways that we can like advocate to get fares eliminated for certain populations? I mean, really, if we're going to spend this, I mean, we have roads. If we want to decrease the number of people on the roads, if you decrease the fares, you're going to get more people. buses and the trains, you increase frequencies. I mean, a lot of these things would be really beneficial.
Yeah, I mean, we do have programs in place for free and reduced fare based on needs, and those systems are in place, as well as partnerships with community partners and corporate partners that could subsidize fare on behalf of their representation. Those systems are in place, and we look forward to those opportunities.
You know, I really question the safety of the trains, and that's connected to the ridership issue. I think you've had problems with getting ridership on the existing lines. And with the kind of the honor system, anybody can get on the train, you know, I mean, you talk about fares, but probably, I assume there are a lot of people that hop on the train that don't pay a fare. I may be wrong, but I assume there are. And maybe some of those people are dangerous. How can you protect people that get on those trains?
Yeah, individual safety is incredibly important to us. When you ride, and I consider myself and my family, when we take a trip, ensuring that we're safe is one of those assumptions, right? We expect it. It's an expectation. So completely understand where you're coming from. From an agency perspective, when we're looking to invest in that, we have our current police force that operates across our system. Within the last year, we've added over 100 officers to that system. We've increased the staffing from our fare enforcement officers to ensure that coverage so that people are paying more within the system. And we've increased our camera coverage and our ability to monitor the system as well. So we do have initiatives in place to continue that increased security enforcement and to ensure that your ride is safe as a baseline assumption.
So, kind of three-part question, but who sets the schedule?
It's ultimately the action for the schedule is taken by the DART board.
Okay.
Because the schedule is reflective of finances and finances of the budget.
All right, and so then you say the weekend schedule's up for review still, so does that mean it could run earlier than 5 a.m. on the weekend, after midnight on the weekend? What's the deal with that?
Largely those are the operating hours that we anticipate at this time.
But even on the weekend, because your slide said that weekends are kind of up in the air right now, so am I going to have a train going through my backyard?
It's more the number of movements that we're considering for weekends as far as the correct balance, not the hours of service.
Right, and then lastly, if your ridership is not significant, are you going to reduce the number of trains that run through our neighborhoods on it ever? Is that ever up for consideration?
When you do start up on new services, you do often have a ramping up. We introduced 2 new bus routes recently, and while ridership on that exceeds the GoLink zones that those routes supplanted, it is still a growing market, just as you have loss leaders in the commercial world. This is the same thing in transit. So we're committing to running the service based on the financial backing that the DART board ultimately approves in 2025. In the years ahead, that'll be continued to be revisited on both a financial and an operational efficiency basis.
Do you take public comment on that, or is it just a decision that you make?
We sure do. It's every service change has the opportunity for public comment, as well as public comment for our budget hearings.
And if the ridership is not high or sufficient, are you going to change that over to freight?
No, there will not be freight operations in North Dallas. That has been banned by the Surface Transportation Board within the United States.
Well, but isn't it true that if the city of Dallas were to be later on petitioned by you to change it over to freight, that could change in the future? Isn't that correct?
That is not our anticipation, no.
Well, not anticipation, but that's a possibility in the future, right?
Will not be freight operating in North Dallas. That move has been made.
Ever?
And yeah, and the corridor itself would not support the freight loading on the bridges, so it's not happening.
So people are interested in the finances. What is the amount that you're subsidizing?
That's all of our movements. Our service will start at the end of line at Shiloh Road in Plano, which is extremely efficient because it's about 1,000 feet from the end of the corridor. So that's our operating window, and the trains will be tucked back in at night in Plano. So if you're here on the corridor, the last train will be passing about 30 minutes before it tucks in for the night.
So you don't expect there'll be any trains between those hours?
We
Between
anticipate our
midnight and
operating
5
window to
a.m.?
be- We anticipate our operating window to be 5 a.m. to midnight.
I'm sorry?
We anticipate our operating window for revenue service to be 5 a.m. to midnight.
And what about for train repositioning?
We have not established that schedule yet.
Okay, because previously it went, well, midnight for fare revenue, but then up to 2 hours for train repositioning, and fare revenue at 5 a.m., but 3 a.m. for train repositioning, which gave us 1 full hour of no trains. Would that be accurate? Is that changed?
Again, we haven't created the schedule for this system.
Well, this is the ongoing problem with our meetings, that you put that up here and the people are going to believe you, saying, oh, okay, well, they're not going to run it between midnight and 5 a.m. But that's because they don't understand the language of what you just said is for only revenue and not, you won't be running a train. What you're really saying is you're running a 23-hour-a-day train, which is what we have been told for years. And that's the kind of misleading lies that we get told. And then you wonder why the people are so unhappy and so angry. Well, just tell us it's going to run all the time. It doesn't matter when they're sleeping if there's a passenger in there or not. What matters is there's a train going by. I know there was a question before I came about quiet hours, about the quiet zones. You're gonna blow the horn, not just in testing, which they're required. It's not they're being mean. They have to do that. But you're still gonna blow the horn in a quiet zone if there's a person in an unexpected place, if there's a dog going by, if there's something you think is unsafe. It doesn't mean you'll never hear the horn. The horn will still be blown if there's something out of the usual, correct?
Yeah, if there's reason, yeah, the operating on the train always says that.
So all I continue to say to you is tell people the truth. Tell them what to actually expect to have happen, because this is where you are setting us up to be angry at you. And so I look at that and I'm like, oh dear, that is not actually true. And so thank you for clarifying that. I would like to see more financial information shared with the group. And to the young man who was asking about fares, I have advocated from the city council. We are already paying for fares at DART through their sales tax. City of Dallas, $430 million to DART last year. They should not have to pay additional fares. And we do need a closed system. We need it for safety, and we need to actually count how many people you're actually serving, because your revenue, if people were actually paying according to what you're saying your passengers are, your revenue would be almost double. So you're clearly not collecting fares as you say you are. Thank you.
Thanks. And actually, related to the fares, what I kind of was more asking was, it is such a small part of the pie, I guess, to contribute. But ideally, I was specifically meant people like K through 12 or retired people who aren't able to take a car, right? And those sort of methods, and sort of how do we find different sources of funding? Like I know sales tax, 1%, it's huge, but like we don't have gas tax. We aren't using like fare or like tolls, I guess, up the roads to minimize traffic there and push it onto the buses and active transportation. So like, is there other revenue sources that we're pursuing instead of using fares, for instance?
Currently, our fare structure is modeled within our finances, right? So we've got to have that to run the service to support what we're running on a daily basis. I mean, we're open to future considerations and other opportunities and other partnerships that could fund that. I mean, Kansas City has a system where a nonprofit funds, vet veteran fairs, right? And so those sorts of opportunities as they present themselves are things that we consider as an agency.
To add on to what the councilwoman mentioned, what's your maintenance schedule for this line? Because coming from the Northeast, knowing New York State subways, Metro North, there's always maintenance on track. There's going to be track cleaning, track maintenance. So you're running from 5 to midnight, 5 a.m. to midnight. What's going to be these, having trains or things coming up and down these tracks to cross? So I think building on the councilwoman's concerns, it's going to be noise when you have a maintenance train coming through, sometime probably in the middle of the night when there's no service. So I don't know the DART maintenance schedule in general, but just curious about that.
And we're still working that out with our operating contractor as far as the specifics of when they'll be on the corridor. There's also windows between service where they can, off peak hours during the day, where they can mount a high rail vehicle and address something with it. And we've got numerous crossovers across the corridor that could allow us to have a maintenance vehicle on a portion of the corridor and a train to bypass it as well. There are crossovers throughout the Yeah, but you're right. At some point there is, track-wide maintenance that will be incorporated into the general operating plan and maintenance plan.
So I want to come back to the question I asked earlier, because bouncing off of what Councilwoman Extraordinaire Kara said here is, so this is just the service time, right? The screen that you have up here right now, that's just when people and passengers are going to be on this train, potentially, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I want to be clear, because I think I was a little bamboozled by this screen, so I appreciate Kara pointing this out. But I just want to make sure myself and everyone else in this room understands, and I want to hear from you. It is possible that there could be additional trains with no passengers on them between midnight and 5 a.m.
There could be deadhead moves that book in.
Okay. When do we know when that schedule gets set up?
It'll be with the operating time. That'll be set. The schedule on a daily basis.
So on current lines right now, how often are you running trains between off-service hours?
We have vehicles that bookend about an hour and a half on either end based upon their operating location.
So really what this should say is that there's going to be a train going through my neighborhood between 3:30 a.m. to 1:30 a.m.
Again, it's not been developed.
Well, again,
and
this is misleading.
Light rail corridors do not operate the same as this corridor will operate. So that is to be determined. There will be, non-revenue movements, but that's yet to be determined.
So do you take public comment when you're deciding when you're going to do maintenance schedules too?
We have public comment at all of our meetings.
Well, when you're deciding to adopt the final service plan, are we going to get notified?
Service changes will have public comment.
Okay. Kara, is there anything that we can do as a neighborhood and community to maybe get something for the city to not allow that to happen so we can maybe get some sleep? Another hour?
So I agree with the ladies over here that the lack of transparency is very concerning, because I came in here initially thinking it was 6 to midnight and that the trains were going to be running every 15 minutes. So I'm a realtor, I sell in this area, and so when clients ask how often is that train running, this completely is a lie. And if they're looking it up on the website, which we give to our clients to look up, they are totally being misled. So I would really hope that that gets changed and says something about the non-revenue hours of work. My other question to you is the houses that DART purchased, when are those planning on coming back onto the market? And will they be corrected based on all the construction that went around those houses so that structurally those are sound to be sold and lived in?
We currently have contractors working to repair those houses. Many of those houses had existing needs for repairs. One was also damaged during one of the ice storms, pipes freeze and water damage that we're repairing. Our plan is to list those homes following our real estate sale procedures. Because we're a public agency, we have to follow certain procedures when we list property to sell. Once the primary construction of the corridor of the Hillcrest area is complete.
Hi, thank you. I have a couple of questions. My first one is regarding Horse Coit. I have some safety concerns with the cones that are set out. My husband actually emailed you guys a couple of days ago, but he had a cone that ricocheted off another car and ended up in his windshield. Luckily, he was in a situation where there were no cars to the right of him, so he was able to swerve. But I'm concerned with the loose cones on the road, and that as traffic increases and the students are going back to school, that we may have some accidents there. As well as coming out of University Place on Sunflower, the cones are very close and very loose. And we have cars, a lot of bigger cars that go through there and are knocking them down, and they're laying in the street. So that's one of my concerns. The other one is the bridge that we have there. We already have a pretty significant homeless presence in that area, and I'm concerned that that might become a homeless encampment. And what are the plans to help mitigate some of that, as well as the security measures that will be taking place along the biking and hiking along the trails?
Matt, do you want to talk about maintenance of traffic control devices? And then I'll take the second question.
So on the traffic control, we do have a company that's out there every day driving the road, and as cones get knocked over, they pick them up, they put them back. They are movable for a reason, so if they do get hit, they're not damaging the cars that are hitting them. So they're out there every day. They get it in the morning, they get it in the midday, they get it before they go home, and then the next morning they do it again, trying to make sure those cones are set up and not in the roadway. And that's across our entire corridor. I've probably got 10,000 cones out here on this job, so it's a huge effort to make that happen. But they are out there every day, making sure that those cones are getting picked up.
If a car's damaged, is there someone we can call to get it repaired? Is it that?
The website. So what the process is, you'll email in, send in your information, and then they'll end up with my team and we'll evaluate it.
Or you can call your favorite council member. So my question for you is about the bridge over Hillcrest.
Can I answer that question on security? Is that?
I'm sorry.
The previous question was on security regarding the trails. That may answer that question first. Okay, so again, the trail project, first of all, the rail corridor that's operating underneath the bridge, that is our responsibility. We had a question about maintenance of way vehicles. Our maintenance team is responsible for maintaining and securing our portion of the guideway there. Regarding the trail connection and how it opens up on the west side, the trail project again is under the providence of the North Central Texas Council of Governments, and ultimately, once it's built, it is operated by the city as part of the Parks Network. So we are working with Dallas Parks and Rec on design approvals for the trails that goes in, with the considerations for security long term and ultimately maintenance strategies that they'll be able to maintain.
So basically, if there's homelessness or safety issues, you're going to talk to your council member or your park board member. So Lane's here. You want to wave, Lane? Lane Connor is our fabulous, amazing park board member. And we do talk about the Cottonville all the time. So my question for you is about the bridge going over Hillcrest. You have the bridge in place for the train itself, correct? Right? But last time we were here, we were talking about the pedestrian bridge, which you showed with a very low profile. And I said, this is not okay because it's very easy to climb over. It's got bars across the side, horizontal, and any kid that goes ahead could climb right over and fall 18 feet. It could be suicide bridge. And we needed a higher profile bridge, not unlike what you're doing over the tollway. And you told me that you hadn't ordered the bridge yet. You would work on that. I have been in contact with our interim city manager multiple times talking about this. Haven't heard anything back. So can you give us an update on what that pedestrian bridge will look like?
The pedestrian bridge will have an 8-foot sidewall, and it will match the profile of the Dallas North Tollway pedestrian bridge.
Thank you very much.
I've been told a couple of things about the parking, where you're parking your vehicle before you get on the dark. And I'm questioning some things about the parking, where you're going to park and then get on the dark. And I have two things that I've been told and I want to confirm. Number one, that there is not going to be any cost to park. Is that true?
Presently, our station parking policy does not have any cost associated with it.
Okay. The other thing is I was told that we can't park there overnight. Is that true?
Presently, you can park overnight, but at your own risk.
Okay.
And right now, we'll look at those policies to make sure that they're applicable for service on the Silver Line, but currently those are the policies that stand in the dark.
Thank you.
I guess maybe I'm just in a hostile environment, but when I see like that schedule, I'm more concerned about it not running more frequently and not running late enough for the airport when we get flights in. Or early enough, that's true too.
2-hour check-in, what time do we be at the?
Yeah, when I was a kid, I grew up in a quiet zone by a train as well, and I was never disturbed. Now, I mean, I live next to a massive, well, I was going to say road, not a highway, but like the Kuwait Road. We live right next to that, and that's always louder than it ever was when I was a kid next to a train. I guess the actual question here is more about the safety of like cars along the Kuwait and I know you got that 4-way intersection now on Kuwait Road during that bridge, but the safety for crossing across like the actual roads for pedestrians, is that getting extended all the way across the different Kuwait intersections, or is it just the 4-way on
Yeah. There's a 4-way pedestrian crossing at the Sugarcane Kuwait Adventure Landing intersection, and then we have pedestrian facilities both directions on Kuwait, correct?
So you have pedestrian on that particular bridge, but I guess, I mean, for the rest of the Kuwait, like down to Campbell, for instance, or up to Frankfurt, are those getting improved where like the traffic, the current temporary traffic lights are?
So the only limits of our project are right there just south of Adventure Landing to Osage. Any other improvements after that would be a city capital project.
Okay, is that, that's Dallas, or is it Richardson? I know it's on the project.
I know it switches there somewhere, but.
Yeah.
It is Dallas.
Okay.
I've got one more on the other side.
This will be quick. Just flash up the slide on the next two community meetings. I'd like to see the times. I'm looking at the MARTA schedule from the airport to the north part of the city in Atlanta, and they have departures every 20 minutes.
Do you have any other questions?
So, yeah, I think he was hoping for a response, given that our airport train would not run at a similar frequency.
The dark orange line currently runs at a 20-minute frequency with a little better frequency during peak hour service from the airport. I mean, we're the trades agency. We exist to connect people to their communities. So it's our desire, if the support can be there, if the operational efficiency can be there, if the ridership can back it up, and if the finances are there to run more service. We understand that there's sensitivities to that, but we do get the request beyond dislocation on other portions of the corridor for more service. And where financially feasible and more practical, that would be where we strive. And the corridor can support 20-minute headways with the meets in the sole single track segment in Richardson.
Okay, new question, especially since there was a comment about potential damage and how would that be handled. I wanted to follow up on what I asked about last time, which was, Mario and Christine, I've sent you all a specific request, this was a while ago now, about new damage to our neighborhood's perimeter wall. And when I asked at the last meeting what came of that, because I received no response, and Matt Hemsath gave the standard, as if absolutely nothing new, nothing had changed, we take no responsibility, we're sure we have no damage, even when I said, we have eyewitnesses that saw AWH equipment hit the wall, damage the wall, there are crumbling areas, I sent you pictures. What actually happens if people follow this process? Because that's what I did, and I got no response, and I got complete denial from AWH.
I believe at the last meeting, Matt said we would take it up with insurance, and Christine did file a claim on your behalf.
Yes, you have a file claim with the Hartford, so the Hartford will be reaching out to you. Because we told you we would handle it and put it through the insurance claim. You just asked, I gave you an update on it. They're to reach out to you. I've given them your emails as well as your address. You'll be receiving mail as well as emails to both of your emails.
I think this goes from some of the disappointment and being disgruntled with this process is because Sarah reached out on behalf of our neighborhood saying we had damage. You all handled it, but you didn't even have the courtesy to respond and say, we filed a claim, Hartford should be contacting you. You're just assuming Hartford's handling it. I mean, that's just ridiculous.
And I have no details of what you put in that claim. There was no discussion about it. I mean, hopefully it will cover everything, but.
So I submitted what you sent to us. The Hartford, they'll contact you, get your account. If you have other people you want to add from accounts from, they'll take those as well. They'll send out an engineer, they'll go through their process. From there, determine where it falls, and we'll go from there. None of us are part of the Hartford, so we can't speak from the Hartford. So it is now in their hands. I will follow up with them tomorrow on how fast our process is for you, where we're at with it. And if you give me your phone number, I will give you a call or a text, whichever you prefer for that. Otherwise, I will email you. It was filed, we sent it, I have to go back and look, because we sent it and it went from these kind of.
We will follow up with Hartford in the morning. We will respond to you via email. Councilmember Mendelson, we will copy you on that response. We'll include the date that we submitted the claim to Hartford.
Yes.
Yes, we'll provide you copies of the submission. We'll check the status of the claim. We'll give you the claim number, put you in contact with Hartford. This is our typical insurance process. We apologize if we had some miscommunication.
There anybody else that has questions or comments? I'm seeing none. So.
Well, thank you for coming out. And again, these are the upcoming community meetings for this area, September 19th and November 14th. We'll see you then.